Hey everybody, how is it going today? Happy Tuesday. Um, I'm gonna give it a couple of minutes as usual for the people that are taking a little bit more time to join in here. Thanks for joining. Today's actually a pretty cool webinar. So you guys are coming in a good group. Also, it's the last webinar of the year. I will be back doing these every Tuesday after the new year. But this is going to be kind of our last and final one for 2025. Thank you all for coming to these. I don't know how many you guys have come to, but we have 175 people registered to come today. So pretty cool stuff. Today, I'm also going to have, as usual, the webinar chat is going to be something that I have up on the side of my computer. I'm also going to have the Q&A up here as well. And yeah, today I'm going to try to get through some slides with you guys, and then I'm going to actually just build this out. I did some like pre-planning and pre-work around this webinar today. But I think it might be better for me to just start from scratch and show you guys how I prompt things out here. Yeah, thanks for coming. It's been super cool. I think this is our 16th week. We've done this webinar series. That's 16 hours of, teaching on different topics for construction in regards to AI. Super grateful that it's grown. Me and my team at Contracts Connected, they always ask me about how many people are registered on Tuesdays, and they were they were reflecting back to the first one that we did that only had a few people. It's been awesome. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for leaning into uh, being part of the construction industry that, isn't part of that stigma of, construction doesn't adopt technology. You guys are proving them wrong. All right. I think that's enough time to let people filter in. We got a good amount of people, some people still joining. But I think I'm just ready to get started here because I got a lot to go through today with you guys. I really wanted to just build something, and what I've done in the past on a webinar, I think one of the first webinars is we vibe coded a complete AI contract review tool and built it out in Lovable. But I was thinking about it this week and I was like, we don't even need to go that far. Like how can we water it down even simpler? And there's been this like reoccurring kind of thing that we hear people say at Contracts Connected when I'm either in demos or sales calls or support, and people are just like, "Hey, like I have a playbook. We redline the same things, we look for the same things, we want the same things out of our contracts over and over and over again. How do we just have a system that does that for us automatically?" And I'm going to get into on the slide side of things, like pros and cons of doing this in a custom GPT. But a custom GPT, I've done multiple webinars on those in the past and building out different things for that around, contract or sorry, project knowledge and things of that nature. But yeah, I think that this is going to be a really fun one. I got some slides here. We're going to go over the structure of like how we would methodically set this up, the pros and cons. There is some hallucination that still happens with AI, but that's just to be, something that we can build around if we expect it. But yeah, let's dive right in. Thank you guys for showing up today. In terms of, construction contracts, everybody has different contracts. They're complex. Sometimes they're 75 pages long, sometimes they're 7 pages long. And really, like contracts run the risk in construction. And my business partner on Contracts Connected, he said when he was a contractor, he was a professional gambler. And that's just around the risk that you guys have when you kind of sign off on these documents. So a system to make sure that you're, signing off on something that is gonna not get you in trouble, that is the terms that you need, that's not gonna give you any surprises later down the road. Super important. Understanding the role of custom GPT. So if you guys have not come to my previous webinars, I thought it would be important to just give a top level overview. I typically do trainings in these live webinars around ChatGPT. I just think it's the most, common. But if that ever changes, I see Gemini start to pick up some speed in the construction industry specifically for people that kind of like that. I can definitely shift and change, but custom GPTs are within ChatGPT. They can significantly enhance the contract management, automating the review process, allowing construction contractors to efficiently identify potential risks and deviations from established standards. This guide that we're going to go through today, we're going to go through a step-by-step process for creating tailored contract review assistant using the GPT builder. So let's jump right into that. The first thing is like making sure that you got access. It's pretty simple. Basically, you want to have, if you can, a paid plan. It's literally $20 a month, and I would recommend it because you get more control over your data, especially if you're uploading contracts in here. One specific thing that I will note is ChatGPT is working with the government to do like a GovCloud version of ChatGPT, but I do not believe that that is there yet. So if you guys are thinking about how do we analyze our CUI data, this is not the way to do it, unfortunately. But if you guys are getting issued like either, you know, contracts that don't have CUI, subcontract agreements, people are redlining back things to you, this can all kind of be built to tackle those things. So access, you're going to be able to log in. We're going to do this together today, and we're going to create that new custom GPT. And I'm not going to have you guys to go through all of these, but you guys are going to follow me along here. I put these slides in here because I do share these slides with our AI school blueprint, where it's just construction contractors and they go through these slides on their own. So I put some extra steps in this one. So to initiate the custom GPT, basically we're going to navigate to the GPT dashboard, use the GPT Builder Assistant, and there's two ways to build a custom GPTs. I'm going to show you both of them today. One is like you have more control. One is more like a done for you, quick, down and dirty. And I would recommend the more control version. I'll show you guys why when I'm building out my GPT. But you guys can also build this in a way that's like, you just chat back and forth with custom or with ChatGPT. Cool. And I want to fly through as much as I can so I can just show you guys the cool stuff. Let's go build one. So basically, you're going to describe your GPT. This is going to be a system in which you can share with your team. You can name it and have it just for yourself. You can name it and it can be public. So the entire, ChatGPT user base is going to be able to access that thing, which again is good and bad. So you have to make sure that you build this in the right way where your data is not going to get kind of like shared with people that you don't want to share it with. Let me just fix this video. All right. So the next thing, and this is going to be where most of the work happens, detailed instructions. And I'm going to go through these ones because I'm going to spend most of my time showing you guys how we're going to build these here. So you're going to use the configure tab. We're going to define specific instructions that direct the GPT to analyze contract clauses by comparing them against the uploaded playbook. The AI should be able to identify and flag any clauses that deviate from the accepted standards. So the instructions is also what we call a system prompt in AI development. And that's basically like giving it an identity. Who are you today? What are you doing? What should you think like? Think like a lawyer, think like this, think like that. And then you're going to go into tone and focus. So you're going to ensure the instructions clarify that ChatGPT should maintain, the right professional tone. But you also want it to make sure it focuses very specifically on your playbook and on risk. If you just throw a contract in there, ChatGPT can be a yes man sometimes, and it's optimistic by nature, which I appreciate. I love an optimistic coworker. But this can also cause things to be overlooked because if you're not thinking in a critical, realist way when it comes to contracts specifically, there can be some risk there. Limit disclosure of playbook content. So instruct GPT from disclosing any specific text from the playbook. Instead, it should summarize the principles. So this is basically, we don't want it to just like verbatim read back the instructions that we've given it. We want it to be able to go into, what I talked about in my GPT 5.1, where it's like thinking and reasoning versus instant answer. So we want to make sure that it triggers into its thinking and reasoning and gives us a meaningful, thoughtful response back. All right. And then lastly, this is going to be probably the most important piece, but in terms of your GPT, you're going to build for your construction contract review, this is the heaviest lift. I'm going to give you guys quick examples of it here today, but this is where you make, the more effort you put in here, the better your GPT is going to be. So first thing is, integrate your guidelines for accurate reviews. The knowledge feature of a ChatGPT GPT is to reference specific guidelines, ensuring that it can provide accurate contract reviews based on your established standards. This integration is critical for efficient risk assessment and compliance during contract reviews. Now, I will say, along with the next two slides here, the more effort you guys put into this, the better you're going to get out of this. And even if you guys do get your first GPT in there, and you're not in love with the answer it gives back, I'm going to show you guys how you can go back and forth with it and refine it to give you exactly what you need. All right. Supported formats for uploading. Most contracts come in either PDF or docx. You guys are covered on both of these, so you don't really need to worry about it. Ensure your playbook document is also part of this format. So in terms of integrating, if you guys are writing this playbook and putting in your kind of instructions, I guess, to simplify it, then you want to put it in a docx. It will accept a PDF. Now, one thing that you guys need to know when it comes to ChatGPT interacting with documents is it can interact with PDFs, it can interact with docx, but it interacts with them in completely different ways. A user, me and you, we're going to see it in the same way, but if you want it to be verbatim and zero risk of it, reading something wrong or, zero risk of it, like the context window. So it fatigues out on page 75. It just gets tired, I guess you could say. And that's when hallucinations start. Give it the information in a way where it has to work as little as possible. And the difference that we need to know here is when you give it a docx, or a TXT file, but probably a docx for construction. It knows that there's text in there and it can read the text without having to process anything. It can read the document. If you give it a PDF, and this goes for giving it a PDF contract or giving it a PDF instruction manual, like your guidelines, what you look for, it has to go through a process that it's called parsing. So PDFs aren't inherently like text that can be, copy and pasted. It needs to basically scan the PDF and it uses what we call optical character recognition to then basically take that, turn it into text, and then it creates its own little Word document in its brain. So anytime that you can interact with ChatGPT in a Word document format over a PDF is preferred. It's less work, it's less brain power, less room for error. And if you're going to make your coworker's life easier to give you better work back, docx is the way that you guys want to go for that. Hopefully that made sense. All right. Capacity for knowledge integration. So there is a limit here. You can't just upload like a million documents, a million contracts. It can utilize up to 20 files with a maximum size of 112 megabytes. I mean, any Word document should be fine for this. And this capacity allows for a really comprehensive knowledge base that can include various reference materials, ensuring that your GPT can address a wide range of contract-related queries efficiently. All right. So basically, we got all of our instructions in here, and now we want to configure what the ChatGPT can access. And if you guys have been part of my previous webinars, we've gone through all of the different tools. We've gone through connectors, we've gone through deep research, we've gone through the agent, all of those things. And when configuring your custom GPT, you need to ensure that you review the capability section to tailor its functionalities to your needs. So this is basically going to prevent the GPT from like going and browsing the web and then like pulling in random stuff outside of your contract and outside of your instructions. We really want this to be a pretty simple process. We're giving it instructions and then we're giving it a document to analyze. Like those are the two things that we're doing here. We don't want to overcomplicate it, and we don't want to give it access to go browsing our email through our connectors and then going to the internet and searching for whatever. And then we're basically going to go through this like this analysis. Code interpreter and data analysis sounds really complex and complicated, but I'm going to just show you guys how it's very visual, that you guys can go back and forth and refine this thing. And then we have what are called example prompts. So whether you're using this for yourself or whether you're using this with your team, you can basically set up pre-prompts. And you guys have seen this before. I'm going to show you what it looks like um, when we build out one together here. But basically, this is going to be little boxes with the like pre-prompt there. So you can just click it. You don't have to type it. It's just to kind of like guide people to use the GPT how you want if you're sharing it, or it's to save yourself time if you know you're going to be asking the same question over and over. So, incorporating example prompts to guide users in effectively interacting with the custom GPT aids in standardizing requests and ensuring that the AI generates the useful outputs. So, you're basically being the prompt engineer here, you're giving them the pre-prompt and everything. Diverse prompt scenarios. So consider including diverse scenarios such as full contract reviews or clause identification or risk assessments to illustrate the GPT's capabilities. Varying the prompts can really help users understand the range of functionalities available. So if you guys are going to say like analyze it in this way or analyze it as in a way that the project manager is going to care about the clauses or analyze it in a way that an executive is going to care about these clauses, you can really refine how you want it to work. And then refining the prompts for better outputs, encouraging users to refine prompts based on their responses. And by adjusting the wording or specifically or specificity of their requests, users can receive more accurate and relevant analysis from the AI. So these little like example prompts is basically how what we're talking about here again. All right. And there's one key thing that I want you guys to know. It's try this out, build this out. This needs to be a process you massage. It's not going to be something like I'm hitting a switch and I'm flipping it on. You guys are at a webinar where you're here to build your own GPT. If you want something you just switch on and it's a light switch and it's got things going on, there's softwares out there, you know, that you could pay for. But here we're just building something that's custom to our company. And I think this is going to be the way for a lot of construction companies in the future. You know, lovable vibe coding, all of that stuff. It's like, man, everybody wants this, like, they want their project management solution to do this a little bit different. You can kind of build it now. And I think that this is kind of the way that we're going to see software progress everywhere. It's like if you want a project management solution, you like start with an industry standard best practice and then you just customize it from there. And AI builds it for you, custom. It's pretty cool. So this is just something that's key that I want you guys to be coming into this with the mindset of I am willing to iterate, test, and change and repeat that process as we see fit. All right, in the GPT Builders split screen view, we're going to go into that. You can basically preview the responses and then you can tweak the prompting. You can tweak the system prompt. You can tweak the data that it's given. Basically, you want to really test it in um, kind of like phases. Start out small, and then work your way up, as well as, test it with real documents, real data, and you're going to get really a lot more kind of progress around your testing and iteration with real stuff like that. Refining the instructions in the playbook's probably going to be the number one thing that we tweak, and we're going to tweak some of that stuff together. But after testing, analyze the outputs to determine if they meet your expectations. If the responses are not satisfactory, refine the instructions or clarify specific points in the playbook that the GPT should prioritize in its responses. I'm going to show you guys how we're going to go back and forth and change that stuff. All right, and then you publish it. So the sharing setting's probably the most important. So you're going to finalize it. We're going to hit the publish button. It's pretty easy. They've created an awesome user experience for us to build out these GPTs. So yeah, we're going to just hit publish basically, choose the sharing settings. Do you want to share it internally? Do you want to share it publicly? Do you want to share it with nobody? And then I'm going to show you where you're going to find it. It's going to automatically appear in your sidebar. It's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be something that you've built that you're going to be able to use all the time. And then as far as your guys' contract playbook, now, when I talk to people in our Contracts Connected, support calls and stuff, they're like, yeah, we know exactly what we look for every single time. We always want to like kind of check for these 5 things that make sure that they're in this contract or make sure they're not in this contract, whatever it is. But your contract playbook's going to serve as a vital reference point for the GPT, enabling it to assess and analyze contract clauses effectively by incorporating this playbook into GPT's knowledge base. You're going to ensure that the model can readily access your predefined standards, and you're going to enhance its contract review capabilities and accuracy. And as far as kind of like how I was thinking we're going to interact with this one that I'm going to build today, there's 3 different ways that I see us kind of interacting with contracts while analyzing this based on users that I've talked to in the past. So, full contract risk summary. You either want a like comprehensive review of the entire contract, identifying any clauses that pose significant risks or deviate from standard practices. This summary should include references to the corresponding sections of the contract and highlight potential legal implications. We might want to do clause by clause analysis. So this is going to be where we analyze each individual clause within the contract, categorizing them. So, indemnification, payment terms, termination clauses, and addressing their compliance with the company's playbook. This is a detailed analysis that helps pinpoint specific areas of concern within the contract. You can also do this based on, role within your company. So if you guys have multiple people that have multiple different roles, like maybe somebody on the finance side, maybe the executive or the project manager, however you guys operate within your construction company, you guys can have this kind of analyze by department also or by role. And then specific queries, so direct queries, basically regarding specific contractual terms. And this is going to enable the GPT to provide targeted insights or confirmations about problematic causes. This can include questions about payment terms, liability limits, or other unique contract features that may not align with standard practices. Alrighty, so one thing that I wanted to note here about, I told you guys a little bit about DocX versus PDF. These are all things that I think are useful for you guys to know, but ChatGPT facilitates efficient document analysis by allowing users to upload a variety of file types. You have Word documents, PDFs, text files. This capability enables contractors to submit their contracts, all stuff that I just wanted to throw in here for you guys to know. Legal and privacy considerations. So the confidentiality of contract data, understanding privacy laws, distinction between AI tool and legal advice, and data retention policies, ethical considerations, and biases. So these are all things that I wanted you guys to just have in the back of your mind as you build this out. Now, as I reference these, as you guys search for any AI tool to use in your construction company, These should all be things like checkboxes to talk about with your team before rolling out any AI tool. Oops. So, the confidentiality. You have control within your ChatGPT account about what data is shared and not shared. I highly recommend that you guys configure those settings. We've done that multiple times on multiple webinars in the past. Understanding privacy laws or just laws about the data within your contracts in general. I've mentioned CUI data for federal builders. That is a huge red flag when it comes to, building out your own hodgepodge thing here, as well as, any other information. It's kind of a gray area right now about what ChatGPT sees and saves and not. But you do have the ability to control your data, and that's probably like all that you need for now for most cases. AI tool and legal advice. ChatGPT, and I'm gonna put this as my disclaimer too. I'm not a lawyer. ChatGPT is not a lawyer. OpenAI is not a lawyer. None of us are lawyers. ChatGPT is using what's called a probability kind of like thinking structure where it knows everything that's on the internet. It's seen all these cases, it's read all of this stuff, and it can give you its best guess probability wise. Like in most cases, when I saw this is the other thing that was like in risk here when we saw this clause. So that's why I'm going to now display it to this user. But it's just something to know that this is a tool. This is not legal advice. Data retention policies, again, is it's just based on privacy settings, ethical considerations, and biases. Biases was probably the bigger one here. I've mentioned to you guys that ChatGPT is optimistic in its nature. It's ChatGPT's main system prompt is to be optimistic. So instead of like saying, oh, nothing's going to go wrong, like everything's good, it's like all sunshine over here. You need to almost tell it like not to be a yes man sometimes. And I think in contract review specifically is one of those things that you don't want a yes man reviewing your contracts. All right, let's talk about limitations before we build this out. Um, I don't want you guys to go away from this webinar thinking that, there's this is it. Like this is the holy grail. Every software has limitations. ChatGPT is one of those. So accuracy and legal nuance issues, potential for hallucinations. The longer the contract, the more likely it is that this thing might hallucinate. It might kind of like fatigue. And if it's context window, meaning like if you give it 5 pages, it's a very low likelihood that it's going to hallucinate. And if you guys don't know what hallucination means, it makes up things. It basically makes up things that aren't there. It hallucinates. 5 page contract, very low likelihood that it hallucinates. 75 page contract, high likelihood. So that's what to know and when to look out for this stuff. The more you give it and the more what we call context window it takes up, meaning it's got 75 pages in its head, it's trying to think through all 75 pages, it gets tired and then it starts making stuff up. That's how it happens. But if you give it piece by piece, give it smaller chunks, give it 5 pages, it's basically pretty certain that it's not going to hallucinate, but you never know. Again, I want disclaimers in here because I don't want any contractors coming back to me after this webinar, but not a substitute for lawyers, limited legal domain knowledge, variability in responses. But again, every software has it. Every software has these limitations. Best practices, testing, verifying, continuously updating your playbook. Like I said, don't expect this to be perfect right away. You're here to build something. You're here to kind of iterate on it. Maintaining consistent question formats, recognizing the AI limitations here, and then basically making sure that your sensitive contract information is secure at the end of the day. In terms of like the legal tech AI tools, there are several specialized legal AI tools that do exist out there. One's called Spellbook, one's called Harvey. They offer advanced functionalities to tailor, legal tasks that your custom GPT may lack. Spellbook integrates directly with Microsoft Word for seamless kind of contract review and, feedback process while providing automated redlining, benchmarking and stuff like that. But regardless of the tool that you use, they do come at a very high cost, and they're designed for legal professionals, not necessarily the contractor, right? So I'm trying to help you guys build something that you guys can use that's, for you and doesn't cost an arm and a leg because you're not a lawyer that needs to do this. Your Meanwhile is like a cost-effective solution that we're going to build out today, enabling basic contract analysis and summarization based on your custom playbook. But it might not be something that a lawyer wants to rely on. So let's do the fun part. Thank you guys for like sitting through those. I know that it was a little kind of dry, but I thought it would be important for you guys to see that stuff. So um, on the left-hand side here, you're going to see a your basically your menu bar, and you're going to see GPTs here. This is what we want to come into today. Now, before I build out a custom GPT, we've done a whole webinar series just based on a tour of this GPT kind of area of ChatGPT. And I'm gonna see how many times I said ChatGPT in the transcript after this. But you could do like you can search for anything. And I wanted to just show you guys first that there are other tools out here that do exist for this. And if you guys were not part of that previous webinar, before I go and build my own, I always like to come and look, what have other people built? You can see here that, what the usage is. So this one's been prompted over 100,000 times. Well, this one's only been prompted 100 times, right? So like this one's legal GPT, so it does everything from, reviews to creating documents. This one is more like just a contract review tool, but these are going to lack some of the customizability that you guys are going to need for your playbooks. What do you want to reference? What do you want to check in every single subcontract agreement that you guys are issued or prime contract or whatever you guys are analyzing here? But when you click on one of these, it's going to open up kind of a little bit of a review thing. So you can see it's got over 1,000 ratings, 4.4 stars. It's had over 100,000 conversations. And it looks like it was default written in another language. So you could say, oh, that's not good. What do we want? We want this one. This one's has basically the same amount of reviews, zero point 0.1 star rating higher. It's had 25,000 contract or conversations, and you can basically just start chatting with it and testing it. But what we want to do here is we want to build our own. So again, check these out. Always search for one before, but we're going to create one today. So when I click create, I get two options here, create and configure. I told you guys that I would take you guys through two different ways of creating a custom GPT for this. But in terms of create and configure, this is going to be a way where we can just chat with it and it's going to fill all of this stuff out for us. So you could come in here and just start filling things out, naming it, giving it instructions, conversation starters, knowledge, and so on. But I'm going to use this and then we're going to come over and configure and kind of work this ourselves. I typically just start with configure and I start working through it. And I have ChatGPT up in another window helping me with things. But I'm going to say I want a contract review bot for my construction company. And I'm going to use this to analyze different contracts that I am issued for analysis in terms of risk to my company. There are standard rules that I apply to every contract that I review. Like I don't accept any liquidated damages. I have net 15 payment terms, and I never accept a contract that has retention referenced in it. I own a drywall company that is primarily a subcontractor, but sometimes I act as a prime contractor on specific projects, and I have my project manager review contracts and look for things himself, but I review things from more of an executive standpoint. So I do voice to text sometimes instead of making you guys sit there and listen to me. Talking to GPT is like sometimes the best in terms of moving fast. So what's happening in the background now is you guys saw that configure tab that I showed you up above. That configure tab that I showed you up above is now getting filled out. And it's basically thinking through everything that I just said. And let's see if ChatGPT, okay, it's still thinking. So it's basically going to take my prompt and think through each one of those boxes and start creating things. Meanwhile, I want to create a new prompt here, and I'm going to basically say, create a playbook for a drywall contractor on how he analyzes and his company analyzes contracts that they are issued, looking for things like no retention referenced within the contract, no liquidated damages referenced within the contract, and other items that you can make up because this is a demo scenario. So list out a playbook to analyze the contracts for this company. All right. So this is done now. So basically, it said you got it. You know, you want a contract review bot tailored to your drywall construction company. Here's how I'm configuring your GPT behind the scenes. So if you come over here, it's going to basically fill this out. So it's going to configure it and say, it'll ask you to paste or upload your contracts or the clauses that you want to look for. It's going to scan for these specific things. It's going to give a short executive style summary. And then it will remember that you own the drywall company, that you're usually a subcontractor, but sometimes you act as the prime. So it should ask or infer which role applies to the risk here. Your project manager does a first pass, and then you review from a higher level. Cool. And then construction contract shield. That sounds great. This all sounds great. Okay, so it's going to start working in the background and updating and building this GPT for me. It even makes a little profile icon, which is pretty cool. Over here, I'm going to send this off and then let's work with this. And you guys know your companies, you guys know what you look for in construction contracts. I'm throwing in, a demo scenario here, but this is how exactly I would structure it if I were to like get hired by a construction company to build out a custom little GPT contract reviewer. Like this is super easy. So the purpose of this playbook, spot financial risks, prevent scope misunderstandings, ensure payment protections, avoid surprises during construction, give leadership clear go, no go criteria. So basically looking for the retention, looking for payment timing, looking to make sure that there's no LD, scope of work clarity. So basically like reading through the scope, schedule requirements. So looking for, what do we have here in terms of baseline schedule acceleration delay, responsibility, change order stuff, insurance, closeout requirements, internal workflow, who does what inside of our company. We can basically build out that playbook here. So common red flags to look for is broad, indemnity, liquidated damages, pay if paid language, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm just gonna say I want a Word doc, and you guys are gonna see that I'm gonna put this in my GPT's knowledge base once I have this. And I'm asking for a Word doc, not a PDF, because remember, we want to just give this in a way where it doesn't have to use optical character recognition here and work. So it created this construction shield little logo here. Now you can come back to configure and see that it's filled in all of this stuff for me. So it's put a name here, it put a description. Your description shows here. You can then expand this and see the system prompt. This is where you guys are going to continue to come back and iterate most of your stuff around. This system prompt can be very, 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 very long. One thing to note is the longer the system prompt, the more of that context window it takes up. So when you're starting a chat, it's going to think about its system prompt first, and then it's going to get to work on that contract. So remember how I said, 5-page contract, low likelihood of hallucination, 75-page contract, high likelihood of hallucination. So you basically want to do the same thing with your prompt. The more you can say and the more details and instructions you can give with less, the better. You can see that it's giving conversation starters, which is basically like these little pre-prompts that I referenced in the slide deck. And then you have your knowledge here. So this is where I'm going to upload my documents, my standard operating procedure, my playbook, all of that stuff. You can upload again 20 files here of, give it even examples of contracts that you've redlined in the past. And you can say why you redlined it at the bottom of that contract. But I'm going to download this file and I'm going to upload it into my knowledge base here. Okay, and then when you upload these Word documents, you're always going to see them here. So if you ever need to come and replace your uh, playbook, your instructions, anything like that, you can just come in here, delete out the old one and include the new one. Recommended model, you can basically come in here and pick. And if you always want to make sure that it thinks through things, you're going to want to come in and make sure that you use one of the thinking models. But the GPT-5.1, that will make your decision for you. The GPT-5.1 Pro is fast thinking, so it's not critically thinking about, what it needs to do, reading a thing, analyzing it and moving forward. So I'm going to say this is GPT 5.1 thinking. So I make sure that it really thinks through everything that I give it every single time. And then the capabilities is something that we want to limit here. We don't want it to be able to search the web. We don't want to use Canvas and we don't want to generate images. The data analysis, basically this works with kind of like more complex like Excel sheet queries, I would say is probably more the case for construction. So I wouldn't actually integrate this. It's not going to be bad if you do. But yeah, I don't think you need it. And then in terms of actions, this is where you're getting a little bit more kind of complex with your GPT. This is it going and like actually doing something for you. So if you're like, okay, and then once it's done, send an email out to the following emails on this project and give them that summary, and it will go in, access your Gmail or your Outlook and write that email and send it. So that's more of like a agentic workflow. But I don't want to get too in the weeds here. So I can come in here and start tweaking things in a more manual way, but I can also come in here and if I keep chatting back and forth with it, it will also update my configure tab here. So super, super easy. Anybody can do this. If you can use ChatGPT, you can use this. Now, what I want to do is I want to show you guys how you can go back and forth and test this. So I'm going to basically just come in here and I'm going to upload a subcontract. I'm just going to download one for us. I have it here. All right. Drywall. Hmm. I'm just gonna give me 1 sec. I'm gonna download it from a different place. All right, here we go. Okay, so I have my subcontract here. I'm just going to upload it. And this isn't that testing scenario. So I'm uploading this ZK drywall issued subcontract that I had created earlier for you guys. And I'm going to put it in here. I'm not going to prompt it. I'm just going to see what it's doing. So it's thinking. We made sure that we used the model 5.1 thinking, reading the document. So I uploaded a PDF, and I want you guys to know that it's doing that optical recognition right now. So it's translating like everything in this PDF, and it's recognizing the characters, then putting it into text, and then it's going to interact with that text. Now, I didn't do a good job, really. I think making sure this is going to reference the playbook that I uploaded, but I wanted to just give a contract because I want you guys to be able to see the back and forth to refine this and get this to work perfectly for my company. And while we're waiting for this to analyze, I am going to throw in the chat here, the link to our AI Blueprint community. This is just a community of all the construction people that are kind of AI forward. They're in there learning with courses that I'm releasing. They get access to all the previous webinars. And I post every single weekday about something in AI news in construction and how it's changing the industry. So if you guys are interested in, learning more, if you're getting anything from this webinar, the community, I give like 10x the value of what I give in these webinars, although I do my best to teach you guys what I can within an hour here. Having you in the community, I can give you all these courses, all these webinars and whatnot. So it's reading this. I think that this contract, I don't know, it's like maybe 15 pages. So it's not the shortest, but also not the longest. You can also, this is new, you can use answer now, but I really don't want to shortcut its process here. Our GPT still in draft mode. We can see up here. All right. Oh, it is using our playbook. Awesome. All right, so the must fix deal breaker items. This was based on my playbook. I said, I really don't want liquidated damages. It looks like liquidated damages weren't clearly referenced. So you want to make sure that that's confirmed since it is in your playbook to make sure that every single time you accept a subcontract, there's not any liquidated damages. Design delegation risk. You're named as the designer. So the subcontract says the design services are being delegated explicitly lists you as the designer. I'm not a designer, so that's a red flag. And the designer agreement is the designer agreement is not allowed to limit liability except for possible consequential damages waiver. Here we got as a markup idea in plain English, strike this and replace with, design services, if any, shall be provided by a design professional retained by the contractor or owner. So now it's going even further, giving me my red line suggestions that I can send back. And if I wanted to come in here and say, okay, these are all great red lines. So these are not necessarily deal breaker items that it found, flow down, back charge exposure, safety obligations and fines, payment protections for my lower tier subs, lien waiver requirements, assignment of contract, and then my key areas of focus, we have, payment timing, retention, and liquidated damages, which were all important things to us. Per your playbook, cool. So this is doing a really robust, really good job for us. And most of this is coming from the playbook. As you guys saw, like this system prompt here, it's good, but it's not to the same level as this was that we created. So this is kind of taken that like contractors legal kind of advisors role, and it's applying it to this entire contract. So if I did say that it missed something, if I did say there was another thing that I needed to add, I could simply edit it here or in my playbook, whatever makes more sense, and then I just upload the same contract again and see if it catches it. Or if this is too long of a summary, you can say, okay, well, like this is an example of how I want you to output this. List this and then list the possible markup. And then you can also say like, yeah, I would like now generate a PDF of the red lines I need to request, include all of the ones you did. Cool. So I can have it now generate a follow-up document that I can then get off to the person that I am negotiating this with. So I'm gonna basically not let it configure right there because we're gonna run out of time and I want to show you guys how to finish this up. So go back and forth. This is where you come in and you can access this at any time. Just because you publish it live doesn't mean you can't come in here and update it more. Continue to come back to this and update it. So now I can hit create up here. This is going to basically create my sharing preferences. Here's my PDF of all my changes. Let's just go look at it really quick. Why not? Here we go. Requested red lines, payment terms, insert, strike, remove intention entirely. Um, you can have it then say, okay, this is going straight to the GC, so you don't need to say if GC refuses. This is just prompting back and forth. But cool, it generated a PDF we're going to get out to our person we're negotiating with. But let's get this thing live. Let's see how we can get people using this. So you can add people if you guys are on a business plan, which I do encourage you guys to get your company to sign up for some sort of business plan with some sort of AI. Everybody's using it, and you might as well have them use it in shared collaborative environments rather than everybody using it however they see fit. You can change this to invite only. Anybody at Contracts Connected with the link, so at your company, anybody with at your company in general, anybody with the link publicly, or you want it to be listed in the ChatGPT store, able to get reviewed and able to get kind of all those like uses, and like you could watch it grow to like 100,000 uses or whatever. So I'm going to update this. Actually, I could just do this publicly for you guys, but I'm just going to click update, GPT updated. Okay, cool. I'm going to view my GPT and I want you guys to see where this lives now. This lives right here. It's always right here on the left-hand side. If you guys share this with people inside your company, it's always going to be right here on the left-hand side. It's pretty cool. And I can answer, can you make your own GPT within Copilot? I don't believe it's to the same extent as this. ChatGPT is unique. Elliot asked this question, can you make your own GPT within Copilot? I know that they have some kind of like repeatable processes there, but it's not to the same level as I showed you guys here. And that's why I showed you this specific GPT. If there's other questions, and I can do a whole webinar making something similar in Copilot, Elliot. I know that a lot of people are starting to use Gemini and Copilot and stuff like that instead of ChatGPT. Microsoft products in construction seem to always win at the end of the day for whatever reason. But yeah, that's kind of what we got going on here, guys. I'm gonna post the link to join this group again. I would love to see you guys in here. We have 61 members. Here you can see that I post every day, 4 days ago, 5 days ago, 6 days ago. I post about, different AI solutions out here. Um, you know, what I've seen come out in terms of like software and construction. I also post about the news inside of AI or just like really kind of like top level learning things. I have classes here. So my beginner's guide, these are all courses like understanding AI, generative AI explained. I have my calendar here where I do office hours every Thursday with everybody. And then we have members all over the world already. So there's a 7 day free trial. You get access to every single course. You get access to the entire community. You get access to every news update I've ever posted. You get access to every single webinar that I've ever done. This is like last week's the AI skills gap in construction, who's getting left behind. And then I also have other courses like advanced prompting in here. Similar to Elliot's question, can you make your own GPT in Claude? There's a projects feature, but I'm not very familiar with it. So, I mean, I can do like we can spend a whole day doing Copilot and Claude stuff. Projects are not the same, I will say. So projects are going to be similar to this. So here you can see this is like a project that I have for, different things in my life. And you can upload files. So this is our robot. We have a mascot at Contracts Connected. We're like building an AI back office for the construction industry. So I have all of our reference images here of our little robot dude. And then I basically have it kind of prompt based off that. Oops, get out of that. Prompts based off that, do this robot, but with him in this position, for example. And projects are not the same because you can put in references, but it's not going to work the same as like a playbook or knowledge. You cannot give it a system prompt. You cannot kind of configure it to say, don't use the web when you're in here, don't use this, don't use that. This is kind of going to be more, I don't know, it's just like a collaborative place to organize like a filing system for your prompts. This is a filing system for your prompts, not something super, we built out our own little mini software here, guys. Like that's basically what we did together. And if that helps, I hope it helps. Elliot and Jennifer, if you guys are not part of the community, join and take advantage of that link with the 7 day free trial. I'm very, very, very accessible in there. I answer every question basically the same day anybody posts about it. I'm always happy to jump on calls. I give, my time every single week to do one-on-one calls about any type of project for any type of reason. People can just join, and I'll jump on and get with you one-on-one. This is just like something I'm passionate about. It's like up-leveling this like whole AI knowledge in general. So that's just something that you guys can get in there. And I focus on GPT, but I know I've used them all. I have accounts with them all. Like basically my life is dedicated to AI tools and construction because what I build for my full-time gig is a contracts connected software. We call it contracts connected, but it's basically AI bots for vendor management around paperwork, compliance. We generate the subcontract, we generate the documents, we generate all the attachments, we send them for e-signature. AI is now filling them out, tracking who signed what do we have back, what do we have to remind them about, who's getting what reminders when, all of that stuff. So we automate all of that kind of contract administrator work within a construction company. That's what we're building. But this is kind of something I do on the side. And I hope that you guys are walking away today feeling like you learned something. Even one little thing, even if it was like how ChatGPT reads PDFs versus Word docs. My goal today is to have you guys learn something. And if you walk away today thinking that you learned something, I did my job. And I really love engaging with people in the community. It's cool to see so many people join these webinars. And it's also cool to see people from all around the world joining our AI blueprint. So keep up your kind of initiative around learning, around being willing to come to things like this. and being willing to kind of like invest into your knowledge around technology. That brings us right to 11 o'clock Pacific time. I hope you guys have a great holiday, great end of the year. Thank you, Jennifer. Hopefully, I see you again soon. And yeah, everybody, thanks for coming. And this was a fun one. I'll see you next time.